What's your don't tell mom about this moment? Mine cost me $50,000 and almost got someone arrested. I was 19, working at Best Buy, living at home to save money. My little sister Emma was 16 and had been acting super weird for weeks, staying out late, jumpy around mom and dad, always on her phone hiding the screen. One Tuesday, I got home from work and heard crying from her room. I found her on her bed with this pregnancy test in her hands. Two bright pink lines. She was absolutely sobbing, saying she couldn't tell mom because they'd just had this massive fight about her failing chemistry. Dad would literally murder her boyfriend Tyler if he found out. She grabbed my arm and begged me not to say anything. The next few weeks were complete hell. Emma was throwing up every single morning, telling mom it was just the flu going around school. I was covering for her constantly, making excuses why she couldn't eat dinner, why she was so exhausted all the time. Then mom found the pregnancy test wrapper in Emma's bathroom trash can. She came storming into my room at like 11 p.m., waving this crumpled pink wrapper, absolutely screaming about how Emma was throwing her entire life away. Where was I when this was happening? Why didn't I stop this? How could I let my little sister ruin everything? Here's where I completely messed up. Instead of letting Emma tell the truth, I panicked and blurted out that the test was actually mine. Mom went dead silent, just stood there staring at me for what felt like forever. Then she started crying, asking about my secret boyfriend, how long I'd been lying to her face, whether I was planning to keep the baby. I dug myself even deeper, made up this whole elaborate story about a guy named Jake from work, said I was terrified to tell them because I knew they'd be disappointed. Mom actually hugged me and said we'd figure everything out together as a family. The very next morning, she'd already made me a doctor's appointment for that afternoon, bought a bottle of prenatal vitamins, even called out of work to come with me for moral support. At the doctor's office, I'm sitting there in the paper gown, knowing this whole thing is about to completely blow up in my face. The nurse takes my blood, comes back 20 minutes later, looking totally confused. Your hormone levels are completely normal. You're definitely not pregnant. Mom looks at me like I've completely lost my mind. I'm scrambling, saying maybe the home test was a false positive, maybe I misread it somehow, but mom's not stupid. She knows something's up. The car ride home was dead silent. When we got inside, she called for Emma to come downstairs, made us both sit at the kitchen table like we were little kids again. Someone want to tell me what's really going on here? Emma immediately broke down and confessed absolutely everything. The boyfriend, the pregnancy, how scared she was, all of it. Mom was definitely hurt, but she wasn't nearly as angry as I expected. She was more upset that we'd both been lying to her face for weeks. Here's the part that still makes me physically sick to think about. A few days later, Emma had a miscarriage. Completely natural, she was only about 6 weeks along anyway. But mom had already told my dad's entire family about my supposed pregnancy and how incredibly proud she was that I'd come to her for help instead of hiding it. When I tried to explain what had actually happened, it sounded absolutely insane. Actually, mom, I was never pregnant at all. I was just covering for Emma, but now she's not pregnant either. So nobody was ever really pregnant. My aunts and cousins still think I had some kind of complete mental breakdown. At every single family gathering, they ask how I'm doing mentally and whether I'm staying on my medication that I don't even take. Emma felt so incredibly guilty that she finally told mom the whole truth last Christmas, 3 entire years later. Mom apologized profusely, but honestly, the damage was already done. My whole extended family still treats me like I'm fragile and mentally unstable. And that $50,000 I mentioned, that's exactly how much I've spent on therapy over the past few years, trying to figure out why I keep lying to protect people who clearly don't protect me back. The absolute worst part, Emma and I barely even talk anymore. She told me that being around me just reminds her of the worst time in her entire life. So yeah, don't tell mom about this moment. Sometimes you should definitely just tell mom from the beginning.